I do believe that young people might be interested or more interested than before to study and therefore to make documentaries. I would say that it's a mixture of factors. For sure, because we have the tools at our reach. It's not new anymore, but it's something that marked our century maybe. That has to do with being able to dare to imagine and dream of something that you can create. I could say that there is more interest or more awareness of the pains and the wounds and the situation of the world, and therefore we need to respond. But I believe that there is another force that could be even regretfully more powerful than that, that is the fact that we have become image. We have become images of ourselves. And we are in a moment that we need to say I, and to explain and expose ourselves, which is wonderful in the sense that by doing this we recognize the power of the tool, which is to be able to focus on something very little and elevate it to a subject that deserves to be looked at. But at the same time, by doing this, we might be forgotten that there is an otherness. If we just talk, who is listening? If we all talk, who is listening? And what I believe is that something that, yes, it's pretty interesting now, is that it seems that the world is demanding this attention from us. And I want to believe that young filmmakers might be the ones who listen and be aware and try to respond to that. For me, films, they are not things that you make. They are response to something that has touched you. Cinema should not be the objective, should be the result. No, you have an experience, you go through it, something is touching you, and if you are a filmmaker, you respond by making a film. A film is something that you make, yes, but it's also something that happens to you. I believe that the responsibility that a filmmaker should take has to do with being able to assume the place from which he or she is talking and seeing. I cannot understand cinema if cinema is not poetic and political and social in the same time. It's a humanist gesture. It has to do with care, commitment, it has to do with touching. But when I say political, it means not to pretend to make films to change the world, not to pretend to make, or not to use films in order to say what are your political opinions, your ideology. There is a huge distance between being political and being ideologic. Ideology is taking sides. Political is taking a position. In a documentary, what you document is not reality. Is the space is created between reality and you. You document your experience in that reality. You're inhabiting that place. It's an encounter. Making a documentary film is an encounter. So for me, a responsible filmmaker, a political filmmaker, is not the one that addresses political subjects. Is the one that assumes his view, her view, and he says, look, from here, this is what I see. There is this artist, Marcel Duchamp, who said, create is not always to make something to exist out of the blue. Sometimes it is to point with your finger and say to the others, look. This is what pointing a camera, I would say, it's about. And for sure, that encounter creates another reality. I accompany filmmakers. This is what I do in life. And this is a discussion that I have had a lot. When you ask to a filmmaker, where are you in your film? And they say, no, I am not in my film. Houston, we have a problem. Because if you are not in your film, in some way, your film is not there. And English language helps us to understand this. There's no I without an I. And if there's no I, there's no image. So really, I feel that it's something, responsibility and politics has to do with honesty, with trying really to go through an experience and with, in a humble way, be able to share it and call others to not to feel or think something, but to see, to witness what you felt or thought while going through this encounter. So I believe that we have a problem with political word because we use it differently. Some use it to talk about ideology, some use it to talk about the problems of the world, and others use it in a more deep and profound way, I believe. I do believe that we film the world for sure, but to talk about life. And this ability to navigate in these two levels is the key. Because if we watch the world and film the world just to point out and say, no, the problem is here, as if you were not part of the problem, there's something that begins to become ideological, demagogic, propagandistic. Cinema it disappears. And with this idea, I will end. I believe that making a film is to say, I film you to talk about us. And this us is inclusive. You talk to the people that belong to your time, but at the same time to try to understand something about human condition.